Hi, my name's Gabs, and today we're going to be looking at a poem from the AQA A-level syllabus. The poem's called She Walks in Beauty by Lord Byron, which was written in 1814. If there's anything you must know about Lord Byron, is that he was this rock star of his time. He would attend lavish parties and hang out with the highest in society, emperors, lords, ladies. He travelled the world. He was just a downright cool guy, and everybody wanted to know Byron. So without further ado, let's dive straight into some more specific context about the poem. On the 11th of June 1814, Byron attended a fashionable party at Lady Sitwell's and met for the first time his cousin, Lady Wilmot Horton. The lady wore a mourning dress, basically just a dress in black. She was clearly grieving someone close to her. The contrast between her youthful, bright beauty and her dark, sombre attire sparked the poem. Byron was so inspired, he wrote it that same evening, and it soon became part of his 1815 collection, Hebrew Melodies. So, after context, I always like to start by reading the poem. So here we go, and I've just laid it out in 3 stanzas across the screen, so it's broken down more easily for your eyes. Just listen and just enjoy the words. Really try and get a feel for the emotions, a feel for the emotions you experience, but also the emotions that Byron was experiencing whilst writing these words. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes. Thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace, which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express, how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek, and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. So just stay with that feeling. Think of maybe 3 emotions this poem has made you feel, and that will help you better understand his reasons for writing it and help inform your analysis. Let's pick out 3 themes then. So we've got love, and the example I've given is smiles that win, the tints that glow. We have innocence, thoughts serenely sweet express, how pure, how dear their dwelling place. Or you could have used something which was more obvious, so a heart whose love is innocent actually mentions the word innocent. And the 3rd theme is mystery. Mystery permeates the entirety of this poem, and the example I've picked is waves in every raven tress. The themes are going to give you a bit of a clue and help you with the analysis. We are going to look at this poem stanza by stanza. So let's look at stanza 1. She walks in beauty like the night. That literary device there is a simile. So this is a romantic poem, and a trait of romantic poetry and romantic poets is that they have this reverence for nature and the sublime. And when I say sublime, I mean a feeling or experience that transcends ordinary experience. You know, it's clear that Byron's feelings towards this woman conjure up this feeling of the sublime. She walks in beauty. She embodies beauty. And when you think of the night sky and how he goes on to depict the starry skies, it's this, you look up and it's like this overwhelming sense of beauty when you look at the sky, and he's trying to associate her beauty with the sort of cosmic celestial bodies. If we go on, of cloudless climes and starry skies. So this is a clear example of sibilance. Now, sibilance is very similar to alliteration, the idea that the first letter of the words is the same letter. But in this case, you have the S sound repeated, and that's sibilance. Now, what does sibilance do? Why does he use it? Starry skies. Listen to that sort of S sound. It's got this, it's like he's savouring her beauty. He's really reveling in it, and that long drawn out S sound just honours that savouring of her beauty. And the fact that he's talking about stars have fascinated the human race for centuries. So his fascination for her is paralleled here, and the sibilance serves to stress this fact. You know, during the Industrial Revolution, it saw millions of rural people flocking to the city to work in factories, and there was all this sort of kickback against the Enlightenment, which was solely concerned with intellect and reason, whereas romantic poetry is more emotive and it brims with this sort of vitality and draws attention to the beauty of the natural world. So I just want to finish the simile and the sibilance by saying, yes, Byron is fascinated by her beauty, and some readers have assumed that her beauty is the only thing he's interested in, and I wouldn't blame anyone for falling into that belief, because women were massively objectified and dehumanized, especially during the time when this poem was written. However, in this case, I would say that Byron is enamored with both her appearance and her personality. He can clearly see that she's sort of emanating this pure goodness from her very core. So next we have juxtaposition. Juxtaposition. So next we have juxtaposition. Now, juxtaposition is when there are two contrasting things, right? In this case, it's the words dark and bright. All that's best of dark and bright. Now, Lord Byron was a little bit of a philosopher, and he kind of acknowledged that to make up a person, they need to have good qualities and they will have good qualities and bad qualities. But everything that's best about her, about dark qualities, about sins, she has those qualities, but she also has the best of the light qualities, so they balance each other out. She's this sort of perfect balance of beauty, inside and out. Then we have alliteration. So remember, alliteration is when the first letter is the same and it's repeated more than once. Cloudless climes. Again, it speaks to the way we feel enchanted when we look at the clouds and we see shapes. It's this magical place, and it speaks to the imagination. And her eyes mellow to tender light, which heaven to gaudy day denies. So he's making a contrast between heaven, this place of beauty and lightness, and gaudy day denies. So there's a difference in light here. You have heaven, which is this heavenly soft light, and then gaudy day denies. That's the bright, harsh light that you would typically see. The light is mellow, it is soft, and the tenderness of the light reflects the tenderness of her soul. One shade the more, one ray the less. So we've got a bit of antithesis here, which is basically when two opposites are placed next to one another for dramatic effect. One shade the more, one ray the less. He's literally saying, you know, she's been made perfectly. She's the perfect balance. If she'd been one shade darker or brighter in her personality, in her vitality, then she could not have been this sort of shooting star of beauty that she is. Yeah, so one shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace. You need to read those two lines together for it to make sense. He calls her a nameless grace. He can't pin down her beauty. It's so sensational. It's nameless. Her grace, it's otherworldly. There is no name for it. There is no label. It's a clear example of personification. So next we have metaphor, raven tress. Now tress, he's referring to her hair. Raven, we obviously associated with the black bird, so her hair is extremely dark, and typically ravens are associated with magic. Whenever there's a raven near, magic is near. So the fact that her hair is raven black, it tells us that she has this magic that's constantly around her. You know, you can't escape it. It's so obvious. It's in her hair. It's part of her being. Now, moving on to the next one. So we've got sibilance and a metaphor here. So the sibilance is in the serenely sweet, and the metaphor is in the where her thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. In the exam, if you spot two literary devices that are kind of doing the same thing, best off just to mention the one time. Demonstrate your eye for focusing on the variety of literary devices. So pick a different literary device. I just picked it twice because, yeah, I thought it was important for you guys to see it, and you can have the choice of which sibilance to pick. Then also you've got an example of metaphor. So her thoughts have a dwelling place, and that's the metaphor. And the dwelling place is her pure being, her body, her mind. Okay, so let's look at stanza 3. Oh, here we are, something a bit different. So we have 3 lots of anaphora. Anaphora is this sort of repetition of the same word or words at the beginning of successive phrases, clauses, or sentences, which usually have this sort of dramatic impact on the text tonally. So it's almost as if the poem is coming to a climax, and this is the 3rd stanza, so yeah, it should be coming to a climax at some point. And just think how each stanza we've sort of zoomed in closer and closer until we're painted the picture of her features up close. And here we see, and on that cheek and on that brow, so soft, so calm yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow. Can you hear how he's sort of vamping up his celebration of her beauty in that anaphora? And just again to bolster sort of my argument that Byron is raising up both her looks and her personality. You know, he says, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent. And eloquence is also defined as like speaking fluently and persuasively. So she clearly, as well as being beautiful, has this intelligence and vivaciousness which serves to sort of enhance her magical allure. She's smiling and she's blushing, the tints that glow. But these smiles and blushes aren't interpreted as something that's sort of indecorous and unchaste, as many women of this time were like walking on this fine line of being the angel of the house or like a strumpet. But her smiles come from a place of virtue. Both her heart and mind are pure. Moving on to the poem as a whole, this is what it'll look like when you've analysed it. So feel free to take a screenshot of that, print it out, stick it in your notes. Before we finish, let's look at some form and structure. So we've got 3 stanzas of 6 lines. Funnily enough, number 6 is a number of love. It's even, they pair together. Number 6 card in the tarot deck is the Lovers card. What's also interesting is that when you half 6, it turns into 3. So again, it speaks to that idea of balance and sort of perfect numbers dividing into one another. Then we've got alternate rhymes. So every other line is A, B, A, B, A, B. Again, so that's almost perfect in its sense that there are 2 types of rhyme that happen again and again repeated. Again, speaks of balance. And then we've got enjambment. Enjambment is where you have a sentence and it runs on to the next line. Now, in this poem, clearly he's like completely in love with this girl, and his passion for her is in the lines because he doesn't stop. He gushes on and on and on about how wonderful she is. So that is why he's using enjambment. It stresses his passion for her. Other poems you could compare it to are William Shakespeare's sonnet 116, To His Coy Mistress by Andrew Marvell, The Scrutiny by Richard Lovelace, and La Belle Dame Sans Merci by John Keats. So all of them kind of have this element of love being unattainable. This woman to Byron, she's very unattainable because she's his cousin. Not that cousins still did marry one another, so it's pretty gross, but whatever. That's what they did back then, guys. I'm not showing any judgment. But yeah, she was a married woman and therefore unattainable. Not that that stopped Byron in the past, mind you, but she's unattainable. We think. We don't know. Maybe he wooed her. We don't know. So that's it. Congrats, guys. You made it all the way through. If you learned something new, like the video, subscribe, because there will be more poems coming. Subscribe and comment as well. Tell me what you thought. Did I miss anything? Is there anything more you want to learn? Maybe you could suggest another poem you'd like me to cover. I cover GCSE, A-level and university level, so be as niche as you want. And also I offer one-to-one lessons via Skype, so you can literally be anywhere in the world and we can work together, because every lesson is a collaboration. I learn so much from you guys. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, because that's where I'm most active. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for joining me on my first poetry video. This is brilliant. This is going to be really good. So until next time, thank you.